Music Architect. Yeah. Before we get started, let's give a big plug to my friend Jesus. Jesus is the owner of Advanced Green Insulation. You can see they're down in Rockland, Mass. He's got, I don't know, 50, 60 trucks, about 120 employees. They do spray foam, they do cellulose, they do rock wool, bats, you name it. Jesus is up to the task. And you know, the beauty part of it, that is somewhat of a joke. If someone says, hey, why did you use that? I just simply say, Jesus made me do it. Jesus said it was okay. Right? So, anyways, we're not here to talk about insulation. I'll give that quick plug. We're here to talk about air barriers. So, in this house, we have flat roofs that are predominantly the roof system of choice in the house. We do have a couple sections here where we have vaulted roof systems in terms of monoslopes that you can see here. And I chose to go with a product, the Siga Mayrex 200. And the Siga Mayrex 200 is a smart vapor retarder. So while it's helping with our vapor control layer, it's also an air barrier, right? So you can see I grabbed the roll here. It comes in 5-foot rolls, just simply rolls out. It's I don't even know what you would call that, like a cross-laminated, you know, it's almost like a fiberglass mesh inside there that you can see looking through it. But the beauty of that is it's an effective air barrier, and it goes up basically as a building paper. Now, one of the things about Siga is they don't just develop a system and then send you on your way and say, hey, there you go, have fun, get it installed. They actually develop tapes and the whole system. So not only do we have this to put up, but we have Reson is their tape that you use, and you can see it up there. It's taping all of the joints of the Majrex there to complete the continuity of the air barrier. Now, before you go off the rails on me and say, hey, Steve, you know, yeah, Majrex is great. We're not spending the money on that stuff. Well, let me tell you a little story. I've actually been out to their factory. I've seen where this gets made. I've also met with the lab people, scientists, and the engineers that actually develop their Majrex product. One of the things that astounded me in our conversation there in the lab was one of the scientists told me, Steve, we made 126 versions of Majrex before we were satisfied. All right, so think about that for a second. Here's a company that says, we're going to make building products. We're going to make exceptional building products. And it's going to do this list of things, and they'll identify those parameters. They don't quit on developing their products until they meet those parameters. They don't sit there and say, you know, after 50, yeah, we're kind of halfway there. It's good enough. We'll just make that one. We'll sell it. The building industry will be happy. No, Siga doesn't operate like that. Like a lot of us, we sit there and say, I want to build the best house for my client. I want to use the best products. I need to pick manufacturers that have the same vision, right? They're not building half the product. They're building the best product that they know how to build at that particular time. So they're going to learn. We're going to get future evolutions as they test this more and develop it more. We're going to get the next generation of Majrex here in a couple of years. But right now, understand that, you know, before you say, hey, that's just some expensive, useless material, there's companies out there with very intelligent people that are developing these products, and they're developing 126 of them before they're satisfied. So imagine if you were a framer, how many walls would you be willing to build over and over and over again before you were satisfied with the wall system, right? After about 3, you're going to say, yeah, that's freaking good enough. We're walking away from that. So I highly commend companies like Siga, and there's a bunch of other ones out there. It's just we're talking about Siga here today, that operate like that. And that's why I choose to work with them, because I know they developed that product with my risk in mind, that the builder here is happy to work with me because he understands I have his risk in mind, which means Siga has his risk in mind. And all together, the client is hired that builder and hired me as the architect and is willing to pay for materials like Siga Mayrex because we all have his risk in mind, right? That's how you build a really good product. That's how you build a really good house. That's how you develop a clientele that searches you out because they're willing to spend a few more dollars to ensure that they're getting the right product. So, we have our Siga Mayrex installed. On top of this, we have upwards of a little bit more than 20 inches of cellulose insulation. It's a fully vented roof, and it's a very effective air barrier. We've tested the house out last week, 3,200 square feet and of first floor with the same on the lower level. I think we were something like 65,000 cubic feet. We hit 1.0 for our airtightness spec on the project. And that's with about, 450 linear feet of exterior wall. So we have a lot of surface area encapsulating that 65,000 cubic feet here, which only makes that challenge of airtightness a little harder. So, with those kinds of challenges, we have to pony up and we have to work with companies like Siga. So you can see the detail is such that our Siga went, you can see it turns down the corner at the LVL, it turns down the corner at our double top plate. You can see behind it, we have a bunch of squeegeed sealant there. The sealant of choice is Lexel. Lexel is a Sashco product. So we have some very generous beads of Lexel up there. And then the Siga simply gets mushed onto it and rolled onto it and stapled off to complete that air seal. And then to finish the sealing, we're going to come in here and we're going to put 2x4s as furring strips underneath, and that will give us that 1.5 inches. So now we can run a bunch of our low profile LED lights through the whole system, and all of those wires are going to be inside of our air barrier and we won't have to puncture through that system. So basically think of it as we have this hot air balloon and then we fur down that 1.5 inch furring station or channel, and then we'll run all of our services as far as electrical through that. So anyways, that's our air barrier at our slope roofs. Siga is always a great partner, great collaborator to work with. They distribute their products all over North America. They got reps in Canada. I've been up to their British Columbia setup up there. They're doing some great things there. They're headed up by just an exceptional North American rep that's in charge of it all. So if you have any problems getting their product, let me know and I'll put you in contact with the right person. Anyways, we're out here at our Build Show Build Boston site. We're talking air barrier continuity and success with Siga Mayrex. Until next time, I'm Steve Bsbb, architect. Long live our buildings.